What's up, money bros? It's Bob, and today I want to talk about money in a way that actually reflects how life feels. Not how spreadsheets feel, because here's the thing nobody likes admitting out loud. Most people are not broke in the dramatic sense. They are not standing on street corners. They're not eating cold beans from a can. They're functioning. They're paying bills. They're smiling in public. But they're also one bad Tuesday away from absolute chaos. One surprise expense away from panic. One weird noise from the car engine away from pretending everything's fine while quietly spiraling inside. There's a number that perfectly captures this reality, and it's not a flashy one. It's not a millionaire number. It's not something you put in your bio. That number is $1,000. According to real data, a huge chunk of Americans would struggle to come up with even a few $100s for an unexpected expense without borrowing, selling something, or putting it on a credit card and hoping future them figures it out. That's not a moral failure. That's not laziness. That's fragility. That's living life like a glass plate balanced on a stick, hoping no one bumps the table. And what makes this even more absurd is that we're rehearing headlines saying you need hundreds of thousands of dollars a year just to feel middle class, while at the same time people earning what used to be considered elite incomes are still stressed out of their minds. You've got people making over $200,000 a year, driving nice cars, eating at trendy restaurants, posting vacation photos, and still checking their bank account before buying groceries like they're defusing a bomb. Meanwhile, anyone under six figures is told to budget better, as if budgeting can magically fix math that no longer works the way it used to. So if income isn't the whole story, what actually is? The real answer is that money changes how your life feels at very specific points. And those points are rarely the ones people obsess over. They're not round numbers. They're not glamorous. They're deeply practical. And once you understand them, money stops feeling like a mystery and starts feeling like a system you can actually navigate. Let's start with the first level, where life gets noticeably better, and it's not about being rich. It's about not being constantly hunted by stress like a gazelle on the Discovery Channel. That number is roughly $3,000 in accessible cash, not invested, not locked up, not theoretically there. Real money you can touch. $3,000 is the difference between a broken fridge being annoying versus catastrophic. It's the difference between your dog needing an emergency vet visit and you negotiating with the universe. It's the moment your brain stops scanning every day for danger like a meerkat popping its head out of a hole. At this level, money is not about growth. It's about survival margin. It's about giving yourself a buffer so life's small punches don't knock you out cold. This is the stage where cash beats investing. Liquidity beats returns, and boring beats clever. This is not the time to be fancy. This is the time to build a moat around your mental health. People mess this stage up by trying to skip it. They want to talk about stocks and crypto and passive income while their financial house has no walls and a raccoon living in the kitchen. You don't build a penthouse on top of a tent. You build a floor first. Once you have that basic buffer, something subtle but powerful happens. Your decisions improve. You stop making choices purely out of fear. And that brings us to the next level where life starts to feel different in a way you can unsee once you experience it. That level is around $25,000. This isn't about luxury. This is about time. Statistically, it can take several months to replace a job if you lose one. At $25,000, you're not immediately desperate. You can say no. You can walk away from toxic situations. You can make moves instead of reacting like a cat trapped in a bathtub. This is where money stops being emotional and starts being strategic. At this level, your biggest asset is still not your investments. It's your ability to earn. Skills matter more than portfolios. Income growth matters more than market returns. Every hour you spend getting better at something valuable pays you back exponentially over time. This is also the point where debt becomes especially dangerous. Interest here doesn't just cost you money. It costs you momentum. It's like trying to run a race while dragging a refrigerator behind you, wondering why everyone else seems faster. As you move past this stage, something interesting happens. Money starts to do a little bit of work on its own. Not enough to carry you, but enough to remind you that compounding is real. This usually starts becoming noticeable around a net worth of roughly $150,000. That's the point where small market gains feel like more than just numbers on a screen. Your money starts moving even when you're asleep. It's like planting a garden and finally seeing sprouts after months of staring at dirt. This is also one of the most dangerous stages financially because it creates a false sense of arrival. People feel rich too early. They upgrade their lifestyle before upgrading their stability. They buy the fancy dog food instead of building the fence and then act surprised when the dog runs away. This is where people turn a strong position into a fragile one by locking themselves into higher monthly obligations that quietly eat away at their freedom. On paper, they're winning. In real life, they're trapped. As wealth continues to grow, the game shifts again. Around $400,000, investment returns begin to rival what many people earn from their jobs in good years. A solid market year can add tens of thousands of dollars without you doing anything at all. This is where consistency becomes more important than hustle, and avoiding mistakes becomes more important than chasing wins. This is also where taxes start behaving like a silent predator. You don't notice it at first, but it's always there, waiting to take a bite if you're careless. By the time someone reaches around $1.2 million, something profound changes. This number matters not because it's impressive, but because it represents autonomy. Using conservative assumptions, this level of wealth can support a modest lifestyle indefinitely. Not luxury, not yachts, but freedom. The ability to choose how you spend your time. The ability to work because you want to, not because you're scared of missing a paycheck. Ironically, this is where many people realize that more money doesn't actually add happiness, it removes pressure. And pressure removal is one of the most underrated luxuries in existence. Beyond this point, the rules change again. Around $5 million, optimization stops being the main goal. Risk management takes over. Time becomes more valuable than returns. The question is no longer, how do I grow faster, but how do I not screw this up? This is where insurance, diversification, legal protection, and health suddenly become exciting topics, because losing matters more than winning big. Here's the part that almost nobody talks about honestly. Money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you already were. And beyond a certain level, chasing more starts to deliver diminishing returns. The happiest wealthy people aren't the ones obsessing over the next milestone. They're the ones who enjoyed the process of becoming capable, of building something, of turning chaos into order, of going from fragile to resilient. Real wealth isn't about cars or houses or numbers on a screen. It's about how well you sleep. It's about how you react when something goes wrong. It's about whether life feels like a constant emergency or a manageable adventure. Every sound. A bird with a nest full of food doesn't dive recklessly into danger. Humans are the same. Financial reserves change how you move through the world. Your shoulders drop. Your voice steadies. Your decisions slow down, okay? And slow decisions, paradoxically, tend to be better decisions. As people move further into financial stability, they often experience an identity shift that no one warns them about. They stop seeing money as something they chase and start seeing it as something they manage. This sounds small, but it's massive. Chasing implies lack. Managing implies ownership. It's the difference between running after a bus and driving your own car. One feels frantic. The other feels calm, even if you're going the same speed. This is also where guilt starts to creep in for some people. Guilt for having more than others. Guilt for spending on convenience. Guilt for not struggling the way they used to. You can't help anyone if you're constantly drowning yourself. A lifeguard docentee apologize for standing on solid ground. You stop building your life assuming disaster is imminent and start building it assuming resilience is possible. That shift alone unlocks creativity, generosity, and long-term thinking. It doesn't change the weather, but it changes how much the weather affects you. A cold snap is uncomfortable, but not deadly. A storm is annoying, but not catastrophic. You understand that most things worth having take time, whether it's money, health, trust, or mastery. As your financial life becomes more stable, you'll notice that chaos starts to feel optional. You stop saying yes to unnecessary drama. You stop engaging in financial conversations that go nowhere. You stop arguing about money online with strangers who aren't paying your bills. Your world gets quieter, not because it's empty, but because it's curated. And that quiet is addictive in the best possible way. At higher levels of stability, people often rediscover play. Real play. Not escapism, but curiosity. Trying new things without needing them to work immediately. Exploring interests without monetizing them right away. This is something children do naturally, and adults forget how to do because survival mode squeezes it out of them. Money doesn't buy play, it makes room for it. And here's something almost no one tells you. Once money stops being the central problem, other problems come into focus. Relationship dynamics, health habits, purpose, meaning, these were always there, but money noise drowned them out. When the noise quiets, you can finally hear yourself think. That can be uncomfortable at first. Silence often is. But it's also where clarity lives. At this stage, people start to realize that the real luxury isn't stuff, it's optionality. The ability to say no, the ability to walk away, the ability to rest, the ability to change direction without asking permission. These things don't show up in photos, but they change everything about how life feels from the inside. You'll also notice that your tolerance for nonsense drops dramatically. You stop tolerating bad deals, bad environments, bad habits, and bad energy. Not because you're above it, but because you no longer need it. Scarcity forces tolerance. Stability allows standards, and standards protect peace. As the years go by, money begins to resemble a well-trained animal. Early on, it's wild and unpredictable, knocking things over, running in every direction. With time, structure, and consistency, it becomes calm, responsive, useful. It doesn't dominate your life. It supports it. And that's the ideal relationship. Money shouldn't be the star of the show. It should be the stage crew, invisible, essential, and reliable. Eventually, if you stick with it long enough, you realize something deeply reassuring. You don't need to win money. You just need to stop losing to it. Most people don't fall behind because they make one huge mistake. They fall behind because of thousands of small, invisible leaks. Fix the leaks, and progress becomes almost inevitable. And the most beautiful part of all this, none of it requires perfection. It requires awareness, consistency, and time. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to time markets. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to build a system that supports the life you actually want to live. Money, at its core, is just stored.com. Stored choice. Stored flexibility. And once you understand that, you stop asking how rich you can get and start asking how stable you can become. That's when the game really changes.